know, wherever you are, God has begun a good work in you. He says he's going to finish it. He said he is going to complete the good work he has begun in you. And he's not going to stop. In addition to that, in addition to saying, I'm going to finish the work that's in you that I started, he says, I'll never leave you. Now, God, who cannot lie, says he will begin the good work in you. He's begun it, he's going to complete it, and he will never leave you. When life is harder than you signed up for. Wonder what he's talking about. When life is harder than you signed up for, we had no idea the things that were going to happen to us this year. We've lost so many from this congregation, certainly lost our pastor as well. We've seen so much loss, so much of us, part of us gone, because we're part one of another. Did we sign up for that? It's a bit of a surprise. And so the question is, how are we to respond to that? Now, the technical answer that everyone would immediately go, well, in faith, we go forward. Here's the thought. There's a special group of humans in the history of all mankind, 7.5 billion, almost 8 billion now on earth. And there's a special group among them, singled out by God, as he calls it, made holy, sanctified, for what he says is acceptable behavior. Acceptable behavior. So when we're talking about how to respond to life being difficult, which, by the way, is given anyway, not the difficulty that's allowed, but our lives are given. What is this acceptable behavior? So this group of folks, this group of special people that are singled out from all of humanity, have many names, but one of them is those who wait on the Lord. Those who wait on the Lord. Simple enough. Just wait. Things will get better, or things will resolve, or you'll understand why. Not so simple. You know, talking to someone who is in a bed, can't stand up because of COVID, talking to someone who has lost a person because of COVID, it's not as simple as just wait. But God expects us to know that he cares, and that he cares for his loved ones, not our way, his way. He wants us and expects us to understand he cares for us his way. He started this good work in you. He's going to finish it, and he'll never leave you, and he's going to complete it his way. So our first question here, our first thought is, and if you want to turn to Isaiah 40, we'll see what the answer is. What is it to wait on the Lord? Waiting on the Lord. What is it? Isaiah 40, good place to start. What is this phrase, wait on the Lord? What is that about? Well, when you look at what it is in Hebrew, it does tell you a little bit more about what he means. It isn't to just sit there tacitly saying, go ahead, may I have another, please. It's not like that. It's not about saying, I know it's tough. I trust that you're going to deal with this and work with this out. There is more to it, although that's part of it. What is it to wait on the Lord? Isaiah 40, and go down to verse 28, please. Verse 28 of Isaiah 40. Have you not known? Verse 28, Isaiah 40. Have you not known? Have you not heard? So, did you not understand? Haven't you even heard about it? The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. So he knows more than we do. Doesn't get tired, not going to stop. Verse 29. He gives power to the weak. Now, you don't find that happening very often in this society, but for those who are in power to give power to the weak, there must be something in it for them. But he does it to give power to the weak. And to those who have no might, he increases strength. This is an important phrase. Verse 30, even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young man shall utterly fall. Verse 31. Verse 31. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew strength, or their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Now, in Hebrew, and this is coming, by the way, from the Word commentary on Isaiah, this may be about an exchange of strength. In Hebrew, the general concept is deeper than it looks like in English. First of all, it's about an exchange of strength, which is an interesting concept, that God would exchange some of his strength for your weakness. But see, we see that in context here. In circumstances, I'm going on with the conclusion here, in circumstances where those in the best condition possible to humans stumble and collapse, literally stumbling. That's what it says in Hebrew, stumbling. A special group runs on with new and greater vigor than before. There's a special group, a set group. They are those who wait on Yahweh. The word may mean wait or hope, but it's deeper than that. The ideas overlap. They mean waiting hope or hopeful waiting. And Israel's impatience and insistence on prompt action from God could become her undoing. And an attitude which can wait for the God of the ages and his plan will gain strength to rise above the moment, not tire, not faint, but go on and on. That's the Hebrew meaning. God is trading of himself with you, increasing your ability to take the trial. It's not about saying, I'll take it. It's about saying, I'm going to wait with God through this trial. He's in it with you. He'll never leave you. So our first thought then is, what is it to wait on the Lord? Hopefully, stay there. Then the second one is, without the patience of God in us. This isn't human. So there's a patience that God gives us. Without this patience in us, we can lose heart. I mean, there's an awful lot of money being made in the psychiatric field over people who have lost heart, given up on life. Psalm 27. Let's go there. Let's go back to Psalm 27 and see how the psalmist reacts to very difficult times. You see, sometimes he's angry, sometimes accusative, sometimes demanding justice. Go back to Psalm 27. Okay, here we go. Not in my study Bible here. Trying to find things. Okay. Now remember, we're talking about the fact that the concept here is that without the patience of God, not human patience, not willpower, but with the patience of God that is of the Holy Spirit in us, we will or may lose heart. Psalm 27, and then in verse, where am I here? Verse 13. Verse 13. I would have, he said, I would have, in verse 13, lost heart, unless I had believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. If that isn't there, no, wait, well, that's not that easy. Well, I'll just work up my faith. Well, hold on, we'll get to all this. But without this patience, we could have lost heart, he says. Verse 14, wait on the Lord. That's the same phrase again that we just saw in Isaiah 40. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he will strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. So it isn't about willpower. It isn't about being patient. It isn't about just trusting that God's going to get us through this. He actually is saying, I will give you strength. I will share energy with you. Spiritual energy, which of course then translates into massive amounts of mental well-being and peace, and certainly even physical energy. So without the patience of God in us, we can lose heart, but he will give it to you, give you the strength to go through this. And our third thought is that the same concept that we're looking at here, both in Isaiah 40, Psalm 27, which, by the way, is through the Old Testament, that same concept of continuing in faith, in belief and understanding and truth, and understanding of the way things really are, what faith is, and acting on it, due to God, that's in the New Testament too. Well, you'd think it would be anyway, and it is. John 8. Let's go back over there to John, the 8th chapter. Of course, it's in Greek here, John 8. And we're just going to take the information here from Strong's Greek and English and Hebrew dictionary, because pretty easy to understand this. John 8, verse 30. John 8:30. John 8:30, as he spoke these words, many believed in him. Then Jesus said to those Jews who believed him, if you abide in my word, you are my followers, my imitators indeed. Well, now, there's something to connect to that's definable, that's easy to hold on to, and that's the word of God that comes from him. It's living, it's spirit. It is this waiting and abiding, if you will. That word is a primary verb, and it means to stay in a given place, to state a relation or expectancy. In other words, I am staying here. You abide, you continue, you dwell, you endure, you be present, you don't back up, you remain, you stand. And you take this as your own stand, your own place, your own state. That's what that means. You take that as your own. And then you are his disciples, his imitators. So this is in the New Testament too. Now here's the question, right? After we look at all this, you go, well, that's great that God will help me get through trials by giving me strength. As I trust that he will do that, how can you know you're enduring? How can you know you're continuing? How can you know you're hopefully waiting for the Lord? 1 John 4. You'd think he'd define it, wouldn't he? Yes, he does. 1 John 4. How do you know you're doing it? How do you know you're enduring? How do you know God is treating you as though you're acceptable in behavior? Because he's giving you the behavior. 1 John 4, verse 4. Let's go there first. 1 John 4, verse 4. He's, of course, obviously speaking to the church. 1 John 4:4, you are of God, little children, and have overcome them, meaning those in the world, because he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. They, in the world, are of the world. They therefore speak of the world, and the world hears them. I'm going to stop here just a second and tell you, I received a call this week, and maybe this person is listening right now, someone who is not attending with us, heard one of our sermons about Mr. D'Alessandro and said, I have never heard that kind of thing before. This is important for me to understand because the world is falling apart, and I thought it would be necessary to talk to someone in United because since the world is falling apart, I don't know what to do about it. And I said, well, what are you going to do about it? What do you think you should do about it? Well, I don't know. I said, well, how about trusting that God will manage this, and times have been a whole lot worse and will be a whole lot worse again. Silence. Now, you know that happens in the church, that people will get so negative, that's all they can think of. How bad it is what they think of. Well, where's that coming from? This isn't saying to do that. This is saying to do exactly the opposite. Okay? They are of the world. They speak as of the world, and the world hears them. Right? They speak like the world. Verse 6, we are of God. He who knows God hears us. He who is not of God does not hear us. By this we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. So one more thing we'll cover, but hold on. In other words, if we're focusing on what's wrong, if we're focusing on how others are wrong, if we're focusing on how bad the world is, guess what we're doing? We're focusing on what Satan wants us to. We're focusing on not what God's doing, which, by the way, in case we haven't noticed, most of what is going on is ordered, is still life, and is good. This earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. There's a lot of corruption, and the earth is decaying as well as all the rest of humanity, but God's order is still here. This earth hasn't spun off into space or disintegrated, and we still function. We still live. We still move. We still have our being. Oh, that's right. And he will never leave you. And he will finish the work he started in you. And he wants you to know that and will give you the strength to do it. So we have looked at, we're going to turn to 1 John, well, we're already in 1 John 4, so hold on, just hold on there. We're in 1 John 4, we're going to end there. But we've looked at the fact that God expects us to know that he cares for his loved ones, but he does it his way. And without the patience of God in us, we could lose heart. That's the way David put it. And the same concept of continuing in faith due to God is in the New Testament. Christ told us, stop worrying about life, focus on the kingdom and righteousness from God. Let's end here. 1 John 4, verse 13. 1 John 4:13. By this we know that we abide. That's the same sense as in John 8:31 that we just looked at. That we abide in him. Not in some psychological trick to make us be positive, but we literally are trusting, knowing, living in reality that comes from beyond this world. And he in us, because he's given us a spirit. God's Spirit witnesses with our spirit that we are the children of God. Others don't know that. So if you understand you are a child of God, given life spiritually by him, the world can't get too bad. It can't. And that is the result of those who wait on the Lord.